People move to Denver for the lifestyle, for the climate, for adventure, but where you choose to live in Denver will determine everything about how you experience this amazing state. One area might actually put you right up against the mountains with instant trailhead access, while another area might give you rolling hills with incredible views. Or you might find yourself in a historic urban area you didn't even know existed. Every community has its own unique vibe. And in this video, I'm gonna take you on a tour through the entire metro. We're gonna look at traffic patterns, at the age of the areas, about walkability, and new home communities. And I'm just gonna give you an honest feel about how each of these neighborhoods actually lives. My name's Heather. I have been selling real estate in the Denver area for 7 years. I am an expert writer on the Denver Market Trends Committee for the Realtor Association, and I help people all the time narrow down their location so that they don't choose the wrong one. So let's jump right into it. First of all, Denver is very easily broken into 4 distinct quadrants. I usually break that half with Golden, 6th Avenue, and merging right over here into I-70 out east onto the Eastern Plains. There's a natural boundary right here where the foothills are. And then we'll split the city directly in half from north to south along I-25 directly through Denver, but it goes all the way down here to Castle Rock. We're gonna start in downtown Denver, and then I am going to move towards Golden and cover the southwest quadrant first, and then over to the east in Aurora and Parker. Then we'll move up to the Commerce City, Thornton area, and finally we'll land in the northwest quadrant, where you'll find Westminster, Broomfield, Superior, and finish off with the unique Boulder. This tour is going to give you a fantastic overview of the entire area. But I do have a scavenger hunt for lots of different locations where I get my buyers out and they go look at a great coffee shop or breakfast joint or high-end restaurant or a trail to hike on or a golf course, whatever suits their actual needs. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I am starting with this downtown Denver area. When you look at a map, Denver actually looks like this. And you can kind of tell that they've included parts of DIA and then all of this around Commerce City, and now here's Denver over here. It goes all the way over here into, which is what we consider Littleton. This is the Littleton area of Grant Ranch. So the area that looks like Denver is not actually the Denver downtown area that most of us would consider Denver. Denver proper, where all the cool stuff is kind of this area bordered by 470 and I-25 all through here. You have City Park, you have Cherry Creek, Coors Field, Union Station, Ball Arena, where you can see really great concerts or the Avs play or the Nuggets. There's Empower Stadium, Elitch Gardens, all of the stuff that's happening is down in that area. The heart of downtown is really right in here around City Park and the Capitol. And as you move further out of downtown, you will drive on Spear Boulevard to go out to Cherry Creek, which is some of the best high-end shopping and restaurants. Absolutely an amazing place to visit, I believe. Wash Park is also another area that a lot of people love because of the walkability. And then you'll notice that the urban feel continues as you move further south to University Hill, Platt Park, and then one of my favorite areas, because it's easy to get to, is this area of Sobo or South Broadway right here. And that area is definitely up and coming. There are hip restaurants. There are a lot of older homes. In this Sobo area, you'll find smaller homes like this one for sale, but then you'll also find some townhomes that have been rebuilt on the land where they scraped one of those older properties. So for example, I sold a property very similar to this. This one is coming soon, so it doesn't have interior pictures, but they are absolute modern luxury in the heart of Sobo or downtown area. And what you'll notice about some of these amazing $1 million properties in the downtown areas is they have all been redone. And either they're brand new builds because they've been scraped, or they're like this one where they have been modernized and made immaculate. So let's zoom out a little bit from downtown Denver now. And I am going to go west along 70 or 6th Avenue. As you take 6th Avenue, which by the way is pretty good for traffic, even during rush hour, it can still get backed up. It's especially difficult to get right through this Lakewood area and of course downtown, but it flows pretty nicely to Golden, and that's why a lot of people who work downtown will be interested in living in either Lakewood or Wheat Ridge or Arvada, because the commute times from downtown Denver to these areas are maybe 20 minutes or so. This central west area of the city is one of my favorites. It's also an older suburb area. So downtown Denver will have all the high rises, condos. As you move into Lakewood and Wheat Ridge and Arvada, it becomes more of a suburban feel. However, this area is so much older than the rest of the suburbs of Denver that it feels old. There's less infrastructure built for people who like to walk or ride bikes. There are still city parks in Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, and Arvada. Now, that being said, Lakewood and Arvada are amazing places to live. And I say Arvada, Wheat Ridge kind of merges into Arvada. You almost can't even tell. And I'll use this line right here, which is Wadsworth. And Wadsworth is really a direct channel north to south. And it gets crazy busy in rush hour traffic. Your commute time could easily double during that time period. A lot of my friends live in Lakewood, and a lot of my clients choose to move here even though it has the older feel to it, because there are pockets of communities that either are newer and have the modern amenities like open floor plans, or the homes are older and therefore they have, I would say, just a solid feel to them. Moving further west into Lakewood and Arvada, you're going to pay a premium because you are closer to the trails. Let me show you what I mean. So here is Lakewood, and here are all of the amazing trail systems. You have Bear Creek Lake Park, you have Green Mountain, you have, oh, this is Red Rocks right here. I was just there the other day. Spectacular. But you also have Dinosaur Ridge and Matthews Winters Park, where they're expanding all kinds of trails here. So if you are into hiking or biking, this is the place to be. These trail systems that are green and kind of scattered throughout downtown or other sections of Denver are really flat and usually along a river or a drainage ditch of some kind. And the homes are so varied. Like, for example, you could live over here in Solterra, which has absolutely beautiful, relatively newer homes that are immaculate. Or you could have the Green Mountain Estates feel, where you are buying one of these homes that is older, and while it doesn't maybe have the open floor plan that a lot of people like, it will have kind of the brick solid feel to it. And people can really tell when they walk into these homes that they've been built so well. All right, so as you move further west, you're paying a premium for access to the mountains, and there's nothing more premium than Golden. It's really like like the gatekeeper for everything in the heart of the mountains along I-70. And I have fantastic news for you. They are expanding I-70 so it's not such a traffic jam. As you drive through Golden, you go either through Clear Creek Canyon, which is gorgeous. The Clear Creek River is absolutely beautiful. Or you can take I-70 west, and that's what they're expanding right here along Floyd Hill, Idaho Springs, and all the way up through to the ski resorts, Silverthorne, Frisco, Breckenridge. You have Keystone and A-Basin right over here. And then up here you have Winter Park and Fraser. If you are a mountain person and you choose a house that is on the east side, like this side of I-25, I guarantee you, you're going to want to move to the west side of I-25. And if you have to consider your commute, one of these central areas can be fantastic for you. All right, let's move further south now into the southwest quadrant of Denver. So bordered by 6th Avenue and 470, and then I'm gonna move all the way down here to Roxborough Park. We're going to include Highlands Ranch, and we'll talk about Castle Rock later, but this is what I would consider the southwest quadrant of Denver. Lakewood and Littleton merge, but really are separated by 285. 285 is also fantastic in rush hour. It's not as backed up as some other highways. You can easily hop on it and get to South Broadway and then pop up to Denver on Santa Fe pretty fast. And that's for anybody who has technically a Morrison address, which also includes this area of Friendly Hills. As you move into the newer communities, they're really chopping up the land, especially over here on the west side, and they're giving you the tiniest possible lots. The benefit of Littleton specifically is that there are parks and shopping centers throughout, and so it can live in more of a suburban feel while still being really close to downtown. I mean, check this out. Right down Highway 85, which is technically called Santa Fe. If you live here, it's called Santa Fe. You can hit up Denver really, really quickly, 20 minutes or less, depending on traffic. Santa Fe gets really backed up though. It is the main thoroughfare from anybody who is driving from Highlands Ranch or Littleton, and everybody has to go that way to get to downtown Denver. So if you have to commute, be aware of your commute times. They will vary depending on the time of day. Santa Fe actually flows right along the South Platte River. The South Platte River Trail is one of my favorites to either take my kids or just have a very gentle, mellow, enjoying bike ride. And it's pretty cool because it goes right through downtown Littleton. Downtown Littleton is super cute. There's a strip and it's got all kinds of events and great restaurants. The View House is really awesome. There's a Scratch Kitchen that is really, really yummy. It also has the light rail. Mineral Station is right about here, and you can easily take the light rail downtown instead of having to take Santa Fe. But the one thing you need to know is that the homeless population that lives in the Denver area can definitely take the light rail for less money than other forms of transportation. And I did have my purse stolen out of my car right here in downtown Littleton, which I think is interesting because we really think of Littleton and all of these suburbs here as just being these very safe, different environments than the downtown urban feel. Littleton technically is just this small area right here, but it's also all the way over here into the Ken Carroll Valley and Deer Creek Park. And Ken Carroll is absolutely one of my favorite places to go. The restaurants are delicious. It's got a very mountain suburban feel to it. And if you need to get downtown, you are far away from everything. You have to hop on 470 and either go north or south in order to access downtown. also. It's not the best for people who need to commute. Grant Ranch is one of the most amazing communities, and that's the one I was telling you is kind of like Littleton, but it technically has a Denver address. But this lake is pretty cool. It's very private and exclusive, so you can swim and paddleboard and kayak in it, but only if you are part of that community specifically. I think that is one of the issues, is that when you are looking at the luxury communities that have the amenities that you want, you need somebody who has the inside scoop and knows exactly what all of them have to offer. So I will help you use data to make these big decisions on where you want to live, while also helping you narrow it down so you don't have to move multiple times. You can schedule a call with me, or you can start with my neighborhood quiz. I would love to see what your interests are, and I know how to help you figure out where exactly to live. Okay, let's head back into Littleton and this southern western quadrant of the Denver metro area, because there are so many amazing things I want to show you that we haven't gone over yet. Specifically, some of the trail systems and the state park. Chatfield State Park is gorgeous. Lots of people love to boat, paddleboard. There is open water swimming in the gravel ponds, and it is an incredible place for anybody who wants to travel just minutes from the city and escape it and get into nature. The other thing that's really awesome is that there are hiking and biking trails all around, and the Colorado Trail actually starts right here at Waterton Canyon and goes all the way south into Durango. It goes all the way through the Rocky Mountains. And so I definitely have had friends, and I rode my bike on this section. Very, very challenging, but also it gives you the real mountain adventure vibe. And if you live in this Littleton area or some of these other areas I'm about to talk about, you'll have direct access, 15 minutes maybe, to the Colorado Trail. Waterton Canyon is pretty long and kind of a flat area for kids to ride, or just an easy, gentle bike ride. A lot of people like to go fly fishing here. Unfortunately, there's no boating in the South Platte River on that section of it, but you can hop into the South Platte River a little bit closer into the Chatfield area, and also down here past Chatfield, there's a lot of tubing that people like to do. What you can't see on here are the private trails. You can see Deer Creek and South Valley and these trails in here, but this section of the Ken Carroll Valley is all private trails, and these people have direct access to well over 25 miles of trails. And so as you move into the Ken Carroll Valley, you'll have all of these trails back in here that are absolutely beautiful. It's really worth the money if you're into hiking or biking. Now let's move even further south beyond Chatfield. I want to share with you a couple of areas. One is Roxborough Park, and that's a beautiful community. In Roxborough, you will find both high-end luxury golf course communities in the Red Rocks Golf Course, and you'll also find kind of mid to entry-level single-family homes. I mean, imagine being nestled right up to the Red Rocks like this. It's absolutely beautiful. And then you'll find the kind of typical single family home that has maybe been remodeled, or maybe it's a little bit newer and still have the same open floor plan. But what you'll notice about Roxborough and some of these new build communities is that they have open fencing policies, which means you cannot put a privacy fence up. Now we're gonna move into the new build discussion. And the reason I'm starting here is because Sterling Ranch is basically merging here with Roxborough, and it is one of the biggest growing communities of new builds in all of Littleton. When you look at new build communities in the Denver area, what you'll notice is that there's not as many within the central suburbs of Denver. There's a whole bunch on the outer ring, and Sterling Ranch is definitely part of that. The Sterling Ranch community has all the builders: Tri Pointe, Shea, Trumark, Pulte, and Lennar, and the list goes on and on. The new build communities are gorgeous, and I will tell you that they all have a little bit of a different feel to them, and the design is definitely high-end and modern. One of the issues with living in Sterling Ranch in general, that it is a metro district, and so the taxes are much higher here. I mean, $3,000 on a single family home in Roxborough Park versus $10,000 in Sterling Ranch. And the reason for this is they are building up their infrastructure, and so they need the taxes to help build things like schools and roads. The other downside to a new build community is that there are not as many trees in the area, and you do have to do your own landscaping. The other thing I think is an interesting trade-off is the commute. Out here in Sterling Ranch or Roxborough, there's only two ways to get back into the Denver metro area, either on this Wadsworth Road I mentioned earlier, or on Santa Fe or US 85. Now, they are doing all kinds of construction right here because it is just difficult. It's always a bottleneck. In fact, every time I get on the highway over here, I just have to breathe and be calm and patient because it's just expected. I would say it's probably close to 30-45 minutes to get from Sterling Ranch to downtown. But if you're working from home and you have a boat and you want to stay in the Chatfield community, you can literally have views of the actual lake from your house. These are all homes. You can just see the lake and have gorgeous mountain views. Let's move now to Highlands Ranch and the rest of Littleton. Let me tell you a little bit about what this area looks like. Here is downtown Littleton. Bellevue Park is one of my favorite places to watch the 4th of July fireworks. Littleton Museum has all kinds of small concerts every summer that are super cute. And it's definitely got more of an urban feel than the suburban lifestyle of the west side. As you move across the highway though, you are in Highlands Ranch Community Association territory, which means that you have direct access to 4 recreation centers with 8 different community pools, from lap swimming to zero depth baby pools and hot tubs and all kinds of classes. Highlands Ranch is one of those communities that's master planned, and it feels new, even though it's actually closer to 25 or so years old. And there are trails throughout. So Highlands Ranch specifically has its own set of trails, just like Ken Carroll Valley does, and they extend this east-west trail all the way from Parker, and so it's got well over 30 miles, and you can connect it all the way if you want to the High Line and get all the way out here to Roxborough. I mean, that's a big, huge bike ride, but some of these trails are just rolling and gentle and fantastic for a family bike ride or hike, or just taking your dog for a walk. If you want access to my favorite trails and my ratings, scan here because I have a Denver area local secrets and all of my favorites. All right, let's talk about this kind of central southern quadrant now, and this is what I would consider Greenwood Village. We also have Cherry Hills and Inglewood and Denver Tech Center, all of which have very different feels to them. So we'll start up here with Inglewood. This is Broadway, and it is coming right down here. You'll see there's the Gothic Theater where there's plenty of concerts, and this area of Inglewood feels very much like downtown. It's very urban, it's very walkable and hip, lots of great restaurants, cool places, tattoo shops, Now, there's a huge range of homes for sale in this area. I mean, you can get into the modern luxury home at 1.4 million, or you can buy a little townhome that is just a couple hundred square feet and is a perfect starter home. Greenwood Village and Cherry Hills are some of the highest end luxury communities in all of Denver. In fact, when you drive through here, and you'll notice there are so few of them for sale, you really need an agent who knows that area and has connections with the community. So let me know. Of course, I'd love to help you out. But there are not a lot of homes for sale through here because it feels like an urban sanctuary. And of course, there are family-friendly hiking and biking trails that are scattered throughout these areas. This one is the Highline Canal Trail, and it connects to some other trails. But this is the one I was mentioning that goes all the way to Chatfield Reservoir on the south side, and then all the way up north to the northeast Aurora. The reason this area is so expensive is because of the Denver Tech Center. So let me tell you about DTC. DTC is my favorite area to go out to a very fancy dinner, get all dressed up, and have some amazing food and drop a ton of money on one dinner. Shanahan's Steakhouse, Ocean Prime, Fleming's, to name just a couple of them. There's also tons of businesses. There are areas to walk. Fiddler's Green is here, and right here along Bellevue, you'll find some really great condos that are above the shops and restaurants. And so if you want a walkable area that's not as busy as downtown, I think DTC is prime real estate. A lot of the townhomes in these areas, I've actually helped one person purchase a couple of townhomes in the DTC and Greenwood Village area because they're so low maintenance and they actually rent out as short-term rentals incredibly well. All right, moving further south, I want to show you about Centennial and Lone Tree. Centennial is so weird to me because I technically grew up in what is now Centennial, but we called it Aurora. And if you notice, the outline is just weird. You're like, what is going on? Is this a city or what is it? See that? It's just big and expansive, and it covers what I would really consider to be a lot of Littleton and Greenwood Village on the west side of I-25 here, and then closer to being the Aurora area over here on the east side of I-25. South Glen Mall is right here in Centennial, and then you'll also have all of the beautiful Lone Tree homes here in Bluffs Regional Park, or moving over here into what is technically Castle Pines. But Lone Tree is gorgeous, gorgeous area because it's really close right here to the Denver Tech Center. I mean, you can get from Lone Tree to DTC in 15 minutes or so. Lone Tree and Highlands Ranch kind of merged together, but they're technically divided here by Quebec. And many new offices and industries are moving into this Lone Tree area. Lone Tree also has one of my favorite high-end shopping malls called Park Meadows. What you'll notice is that there's a ton of infrastructure already built in on the west side of I-25. But as you move further east into this area, there is almost nothing there right now. And it's called Ridgegate, and it's being built up. And so there will be tons and tons of new homes. And I personally think that this is possibly one of the best places to buy a new house. And here's why. It's right on the other side of Lone Tree, and you just take I-25 to get to DTC or downtown Denver. I mean, isn't that the perfect location? If you can't afford one of these $1 million homes over here in Lone Tree or a couple $1 million homes in Cherry Hills, then maybe buying an $875,000 brand new home in Ridgegate would be ideal for you. The other thing about these areas over here to the east of I-25 is that they're building up these rolling hills areas called the canyons. And it's really merging with what we consider to be Parker. I know on a map it looks like Parker is way far over here on Parker Road, but actually, here we go. We have Ridgegate. We have a whole bunch of open space right here, which this is bigger than it looks on a map. And then you pop into Parker. And so someone who buys a home over here in the Ridgegate area will probably use the Park Meadows area, Lone Tree area, which are very high end and beautiful. And they also have really great access to a lot of the stuff in Parker. The Canyons is down here and it's kind of merging with Castle Pines, and the Canyons is going to be an incredible community. Master planned, pools, and what you'll notice is there's so much really great land here, and as I mentioned before, there's not a ton of new builds in fantastic locations. So if having a brand new home is important to you and you don't want to have to go really far out east here, I really do think that the Castle Pines and Canyons and Parker area right here is an ideal place to go home shopping. And of course, take me with you, because unless an agent visits the new build community with you on your very, very first visit, then the builder will not allow you to be represented by the community. You need an agent to help you with that. And I have a lot of experience helping people navigate the new build and the design and lot choice and all of that process. Let's talk about Castle Rock now. There is a whole lot of new builds out here in Castle Rock. Castle Rock has its own feel. I really think it's a fantastic place to raise a family. The downside to Castle Rock is that it is really, really far from any of the mountains. And if that's not a priority to you to access the mountains, then that's okay, because Castle Rock you can really just stay in. It has Ridgeline, which is a really, really beautiful place to ride bikes or hike. Castlewood Canyon is over here. There is not a lot of direct access though to all of the trails without getting all the way into Denver or driving all the way out here through Sedalia to get to 470 to get to the ski resorts. So if skiing and mountain access is important to you, don't move to Castle Rock. However, if you want a new home for less money in a great location, I really love Castle Rock for that purpose, because they are building all through here to the south, and this area is really brand new and beautiful. I would say there's a big, huge bottleneck right through here on 25, and they did expand the highway, but it still gets really backed up. So if you're trying to commute from Castle Rock to anywhere, you're going to be waiting in rush hour traffic. It's also a lot further from the airport than a lot of people think, and so if travel is important to you or you do it regularly for work, it's not a great place to live. The areas of Parker that are on kind of these rolling plains like the Pinery and merging over here into the Canyons and Stonegate, there are a ton of new builds, but this drive through here is much longer than it looks on a map, and you kind of feel like you're out in the middle of the hills. People love Parker though, and they love the Pinery. They absolutely love the feel of it. It's a lot like Castle Rock in that it has a newer infrastructure, and so all of the buildings, everything is brand new and just looks pristine. All right, let's move into the Centennial and Aurora areas. You absolutely must drive the areas before you decide in your head that's where you want to live. Why? Well, let me show you. I grew up right here, and that area is a lot older. I know, I'm dating myself, right? But these areas of Aurora, Centennial are older, and the traffic is just weird, and it just has the dirtier feel to it. I just can't say it any other way. The shops are older. Now, the cool part is they are definitely rebuilding and remodernizing everything, but that's gonna take some time, just like it does in the downtown Denver areas. As you move further east, where 470 is, these areas are new. This is the Southlands Mall area. So amazing. I love it out there. If I didn't love the mountains as much as I do, I would move here because you can get so much more for your money. A lot of the high-end homes here in the Saddle Rock Golf Club area are spectacular with beautiful views back into golf courses, and you have Aurora Reservoir that's readily available for boating. What I think is kind of crazy to look at is the number of homes that are for sale in these areas. I mean, you can't even keep track of how many there are. And if you are looking on Zillow like I am right now, you might pick out a couple of these homes that are, you know, in the 500s and think that this is a fantastic price, which it could possibly be. I haven't done any research on this one specifically, but they are definitely older in feel, and therefore, unless they've been updated, they will have things that need to be repaired, which is why it's really important to have an inspection. This one, look at this. This one looks fantastic on the inside. It's got new flooring and paint. See, that's what you want to be looking for. You don't want to buy one of these homes that's older and the seller hasn't taken care of it. Deferred maintenance is not an excuse for trying to sell a property as is. And you need a buyer's agent who is going to negotiate really strongly for you at inspection, which is, by the way, one of my favorite things to do. So let me know if you want me to help you. All right, now we've tackled all of this southeast quadrant of the Denver metro area. There's a couple new build communities out here as well in the Aurora Highlands, and of course the Green Valley Ranch area. I can't tell you how many people ask me about Green Valley Ranch, and here's what I tell you. You should do a little bit of research about Green Valley Ranch because they had issues with their HOA. I also know that the feel of the neighborhood when you get there is not as solid as one of the older communities that I mentioned before. And so an in-person tour before you fall in love with that area is essential. This area right here is called Aurora Highlands, and it has a ton of new builds that are very well priced. I mean, a 3 to 5 bedroom home for $500,000, you just can't get that anywhere else in the Denver area. Why? Well, because of the location, right? So when you look at the trails map again, you'll look at the location of the Aurora Highlands area and notice that there just isn't anything out here. And as you get further towards the airport, it becomes less and less sparse. And as you get further out to like Bennett and Watkins, which I have sold homes to people, but guess what? The people I sold a home to in Bennett decided to move all the way up here to Broomfield. You know why they moved up here? Oh, because they wanted to be closer to the mountains and the trails. So that's why I'm trying to do this video, so I can really coach you on it and you don't end up an hour from what you really love to do. Okay, the northeast quadrant is pretty easy for me to talk about. It's very sparse, and there's this Rocky Mountain Arsenal, which you can click on that and read about it yourself. I am not going to tell you about it, but nobody lives there for a reason. Also, very few people live in Commerce City. It literally feels like a commerce city. There are trains and factories everywhere, and it's not a great place to live. Thornton and North Glen are a little bit less expensive than some of the western suburbs are, and they're also a little bit older, so you can feel that they don't have the modern amenities maybe that some of the other areas do. And as you move further north, you're looking at a huge commute time to get into downtown Denver. They've added a toll lane here along I-25, but this section is absolutely miserable to drive on almost any time, but definitely during rush hour. You can like see downtown Denver and it's just forever away. It's still like a half hour away when you can see it. This specific region right here we call the mousetrap. And the reason we call it the mousetrap is because it's so confusing. You have to be really on your toes when you're driving and paying attention to which exit you're supposed to take because there's so many interchanges. I mean, I was driving down here from Fort Collins and I accidentally took this one through Commerce City and then had to come back here to come back up and get back on I-25, which was, I don't know, cost me 15 minutes. Let me talk just for a second about Federal Heights. I think these areas in here start to feel like they are a little bit more like a downtown area. They're crowded and less expensive than other areas on the west side. And it definitely is an area you should drive through and find out if it makes sense for you to live there before you fall in love with one of these amazing houses. I mean, there are manufactured homes for $100,000 in this area, and some of the houses are definitely not maintained as well as others. This one is a condo for $174. Great deal, right? But also you should drive the area before you choose it, which I've said multiple times. As you move further to the west into Westminster, you'll find nicer homes and nicer areas. The properties are actually a lot bigger in this area, the lot size are at least. And there's also a lot more new build communities, especially as you move further north towards Lafayette, Longmont, and Erie. Those communities are so cute and they have their own little downtown, but of course then again, if you need to get to the mountains, you're driving to Boulder or to downtown Denver for your work, and that's quite a commute. So be aware of your commute times for sure. When we look at Westminster, I personally feel like Westminster is merging with the Arvada area. It doesn't really feel any different as you go from Westminster along Wadsworth into Arvada and Wheat Ridge. They all feel very similar. It's hard to tell that there's a different city there. They just are urban, suburban areas. Arvada has a really cool little downtown, and Westminster has Stanley Lake, which is an incredible open space. You can go paddleboarding. It's also a water supply for the area, and so people aren't allowed to swim in it, but there's camping and hiking all throughout here. The other cool part about Westminster is that you are getting closer and closer to the foothills, and so White Ranch Park open space is gorgeous. Golden is relatively close, and in Golden you have trails right here on North Table Mountain. You also have plenty of just flat gravel green level trails, and then a lot of these are pretty steep. Even though they show that they're green, they're actually very challenging to ride or hike. South Table Mountain has a bunch of them as well. Here's White Ranch open space. And so as you move further and further west, you are looking at beautiful views and flat irons and trails and access, which people love. The only thing about Westminster is that it's still quite a long ways to ski resorts and downtown Denver. If you want to go to a ski resort and you live somewhere up here in Westminster, you have a little bit of a difficult drive right here. Now, is it really that much different than, say, I don't know, Littleton? Yeah, kinda, because Wadsworth is really congested. But you can also access Highway 36, which takes you up into Boulder. And so now we've taken care of this entire northern quadrant of Denver with the exception of Boulder. And as you move closer and closer to Boulder, you'll notice that home prices absolutely skyrocket because Boulder is just its own very, very special place. Now, there's a lot of areas around Boulder that are less expensive, like people who live in Superior might get to pay a little bit less for their property, but they're still really, really expensive. I mean, check this out. A 1,300 square foot house for sale in Louisville. I mean, this house would probably be $400,000 if it was way out east on the plains or in Parker. It would not be expensive at all. And the reason people love Boulder is so many reasons. The Flatirons are so pretty. You have Boulder Canyon with the river and climbing. And then you also have this direct access all the way into the mountains right here. And then there are trails everywhere. Boulder Reservoir, there's so many amazing little places to play. The parks are gorgeous. And if you haven't walked down Pearl Street, you need to because it's just got its own eclectic feel. Very high end to live in Boulder. Prices are, I would say, incredibly expensive if you're looking from out of state especially. But some of these condos in Boulder can be really great investments. I mean, you can get a $450,000 condo, see that, with 800 square feet for $459,000. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, really? But yes, you can also rent that out, maybe to your child who happens to be going to the University of Colorado. And then it becomes an investment property. Again, if you want to explore neighborhoods, check out my quiz, but also just know that I really care about talking to people. And so I would love to chat with you and find out what your unique situation is and what area is going to be really great for you. Anyway, have a great day. I'm Heather O'Leary with eXp Realty.